Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back. We're headed into our second game out of 4 today here for the North American SPL. My name's Tom, otherwise known as F-Dot. That's Kevin, otherwise known as Adonis. And we've got Luminosity, otherwise known as BaRRaCCuDDa's team. They're going to be taking on Randozos today. We just got a chance to see Envious just, honestly, trounce Enemy really hard in game 1.
Surprisingly, too. Obviously, Enemy still struggling with some issues despite PandaCat being back into rotation. This match, though, second seed versus 8th seed right now. Maybe not as clear-cut, I think, as the records or standings would show. Randozos have only found one split so far this split, but a lot of close games, I would say. They don't really seem to be falling over. They have a really good early game, specifically centered a lot around moswal and Mirage. They go very aggressive. They've now picked up Wowy as well. We know he's subbed around kind of for some teams, looking really fantastic. So Randozos are coming to LAN, but no one can just go, hey, we don't really need to practice, it's Randozos anymore.
I think both of these teams honestly surprised, at least me, coming out of the gate. I thought I kind of had the idea that Luminosity was going to be kind of a middle-of-the-pack team, and Randozos was going to be the same Randozos that we all know and sort of love. Randozos wound up being pretty good. Like we said, 8th place at the moment, but the potential to be up there. And Luminosity really just defied sitting really towards the top.
I mean, you look at that triumvirate of power that we had in North America near the end of the split. It was Enemy, Eager, and Soar. Those were clearly the top 3. Then you had LG a little bit below them along with Denial. Then you had everyone else. But Enemy and Eager seem to be struggling. It's not that they look, I mean, Enemy kind of looks bad. They haven't really been able to get anything going. But Eager, they've kind of just looked mediocre.
Sure.
They've kind of looked okay. They're not really getting beat super hard. They have chances in their games, but not as dominant as LG has been playing specifically.
For me, it's just about the elevation of play. I think when you look at Enemy, you can definitely say that they've struggled.
Yeah.
They've had some issues throughout the season. Eager, on the other hand, I think that they're still very strong. It's just the fact that Randozos are certainly a lot stronger than they looked last year, and LG, like I said, I had them pegged as a middle-of-the-pack team just like last year. Just like Denial, but just like Denial, they're surging towards the top.
So I got to look at roster apocalypse for this overall. Going back to the beginning of the year, only 2 teams remained the same. That was Energy and now Bipolar Method. Everyone else had swaps, and a lot of these players had been playing with each other for going upwards of 2 years sometimes, you know, looking at Annenster and BaRRaCCuDDa. So I think it did take them quite some time to adapt to being like, this is not the same playstyle. We cannot try and play the same Luminosity game plan that Cloud9 ran or that COG Prime ran. It's not the same team. We've got to switch it up, and it took them a little bit to adopt it, but now with Mast and XenoTronics, I think BaRRaCCuDDa and JeffHindla are having a much better time. I think that spring split was more of a learning split for them.
Absolutely. LG trending upwards. Let's take a look towards the picks and bans as they take on the Clowns today. Randozos certainly will be interesting as well. A lot of choices as far as their picks are concerned, and honestly, you can have a lot of choices at home as well. God Pack is on sale today if you're on PC and Steam. 33% off for all PC and Steam players, so don't get into a ranked game and say, sorry, I don't own the God. It's your opportunity to really get along by it.
Come on, man. That's the best deal in gaming. Not even close. Best deal in gaming. It's going to go a long way here. But we do have games today. Randozos versus Luminosity here. I'm excited for this one. I'm looking towards 2God specifically. I'm looking at the Ratatosker for Mast. He was kind of the person who brought Rat back into the meta. We saw people kind of experiment with him, but he's been consistently picking it. And then looking at the side of Randozos, Vulcan for moswal. This guy has been absolutely insane.
And also, I'm honestly looking at Mirage. I think Mirage and moswal, the 2 M&M boys on Randozos, these guys combine to just create such exciting play.
I bet you, like, we could probably go back and find the combat logs. Mirage takes more damage from towers than anyone else by 2 or 3 full. Like, this guy dives so many towers, even just trading himself out 1-for-1 in a lot of scenarios where directly it may not look like that much, but what he's doing is he's setting up for the person he dives, right, their counter matchup. If he dives a mid laner, that means that moswal is going to have all this time to free farm, or now he opens up potential for jungle invades, but you're not safe under your tower against Mirage is kind of the short story there.
Absolutely not. You mentioned Masks, Ratatosker, Randozos are well aware, so they're going to ban it out. But by banning Rat and Soul, that leaves Terra open, and JeffHindla is going to try his hand at the new Guardian.
Obviously, Nemesis is a pretty bad ban, though, but these are, for the most part, very targeted. We've seen Mirage run a lot of that Nemesis, obviously moswal with the Vulcan, and then BaRRaCCuDDa's Soul has been the best Soul in Smite in the past 6 months. I don't think anyone has been able to match him. He just hits every single basic. His positioning's always great. You can never lock him down. I love the ban.
Accuracy has always been something that BaRRaCCuDDa likes to hang his hat on. Raijin and Susano will be the selections for Randozos. So again, there's that jungle mid combination right there. Moswal and Mirage going to be looking towards the big burst out of Raijin and Susano. I mean, he's going to be able to dive towers and get out of trouble very quickly. So.
I don't know. He does get out of trouble a lot. I don't know how he does it. LG, though, here, they could look for the Jing combo. We've seen a lot of people like to run that with Terra.
Scary.
They're going to go for Janus, though, putting XenoTronics on something that he plays very well. We saw it just in the last match they had against Denial. Very high-level play coming out from him. And it is
combo,
the Jing
yep. So this combo is pretty scary. Terra will either stun or root, whatever she feels fit, and then Jing is going to follow up with the Gust. It's honestly a nightmare. We saw PandaCat, his first game back, just get abused by Soar's duo lane. Jig's really bringing it. So we'll see if JeffHindla can do the same with him and Jing Wei. Fafnir will be the selection for Randozos, however, so we'll see how that one works
out. How the meta has
Wubbn.
shifted. Fafnir is no longer first pick, first ban, no matter what. That, for the most part, belongs to Terra, though not everyone has been running her. I think Fafnir has a little bit more direct effectiveness.
Sure.
A lot of this game is going to come down to Wubbn, his rotational power. Early Gold Fury is always something you have to be thinking about if you're on the side with the Fafnir. But the issue is that Luminosity, they have kind of these double globals. Jingwei's passive, her ult as well is, kind of semi-global. You can cover some distance, and then the Janus, so it won't be that easy.
Thor taken away by Randozos, so still looking towards Mask. They've got the Ratatasker ban and the Thor ban towards Mask, who has been a big deal for Luminosity. And they'll take away Robin, just a little bit of comfort there for Whalrus.
I thought they were going to go more towards the ban looking at Hunbats, just continues
Again,
like lock
same.
three gods away from Ast. He's someone who likes to gank, he likes to fight, he likes to put out a lot of pressure. And if you're Susano, just don't give him anything that he's really going to be able to match that pace with. Instead, they do go for the Robin ban, so telling me that Randozos either don't want to pick their soul laner here, or they're not really focused on early game. They don't want the Robin themselves. They obviously have that first pick in the second phase.
We'll see where Randozos do opt to go. And it'll be the selection
Vamana.
for Whalrus. Vamana over there in the solo lane.
And that's something he's very comfortable with. We've seen him play this quite often, and I think this was just, I want to play Vamana, and I don't want to play against Robin. I think that was kind of the story of that picks and ban strat there.
Option over to Luminosity. They've got two selections left. Dual lane and mid already down for the count, so it's about the jungle and the solo lane here. What works well against the Vamana for Luminosity?
I mean, Vamana just is kind of a bully, but he gets pressured out by a lot of picks. Naja in the jungle for Mass, so more looking for that setup synergy. You could see LG going for more of a disruptor. They don't really have a lot of guaranteed hard CC that's going to hit multiple targets. A Sun Wukong might not be bad. Masters will. You get that AoE slow, Oxform as well. Really hard to lock down. You could also go for the late game here. Amaterasu going to be picked up. Very good against mages specifically.
You remember way back, well, not way back when, I guess it's been about a year now, Mask coming back into the SPL after sort of taking a break, and there his main god was really Naja. And since then, we haven't seen him play it. It's been a long hiatus, but Mask back on the Naja. Very excited to see how he works on that dynamic god. And Randozos will be putting Wowy on Apollo.
I think the main issue with Naja here is there's not a lot that has guaranteed synergy with it. You don't really like the... Janus can work with Naja, but it's not as clean cut as a Raijin or an Isis or even an Agni. Anyone who's going to have that immediate like burst magical damage. You don't really want to fire a through space and time off of a Naja ult.
We have seen
the timing is actually not that easy for the through space and time, and it's going to depend because it is a travel time ability.
Absolutely.
It's not like a raw snipe where it's going to be instant.
Yeah, the XenoTronics on Janus, though, to be fair.
I do trust him,
This season hasn't really left anything to the imagination. Everybody knows that he's very good, and he's going to be able to handle it. And again, Luminosity, this is a team that I think has both surprised me and improved, sort of both-handedly. XenoTronics came in and was playing for Denial pretty well. This season, I think he's exceptional.
Yeah. I mean, him and Mast, it's really about him and Mast. It's not just XenoTronics. It's not just Mast. It's their synergy between each other, as well as working with a veteran like JeffHindla when they came in.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mast has been around for quite some time. In and out, was banned for a year competitively. This is his first season back into competition play. Xeno is the new guy. He's the one who has discovered this split and has had to learn a lot, and he's grown fast.
And, it's an interesting dynamic for the Luminosity team. Scary D, relatively new to the SPL, SPL alongside Mask with a little bit of Stripes and XenoTronics. These are all sort of middle-of-the-pack players as far as experience is concerned. JeffHindla, one of the most experienced players in the league, as Xeno gets aggressed on, but he's never... You could ask Jeff himself. I'm good friends with him. He's not a leader. He's not one of these guys that are going to be the big spearhead of the team. And that's sort of defaulted onto BaRRaCCuDDa these days, who has done a very good job with his squad.
I think BaRRaCCuDDa has been playing at a level we haven't seen from him in quite some time. And it's not that he's never had this in him. It's that a lot of the times, BaRRaCCuDda's strengths have been masked by Anninster and the rest of the team. No pun intended. I realized it as I said it there. But, you know, he always had Anninster who was going to put pressure. And BaRRaCCuDda's job was very much like going to Envy's interview that we just had where Kiki's like, I just farm. That was BaRRaCCuDda's strategy. Like, that was his job. Farm up, become this late game monster. Now we're seeing him try to take more of, I'd say, more action, more aggressive tendencies there, heavy rotations.
And that sort of lead by example has traveled onto the team. You can see Luminosity playing aggressive here. Mask and Xeno grouping up for the right side, back Harpy invade onto Randozos, and that's just really raw. Usually we see that sort of invade come out of, well, pressure in the mid lane, a nice kill early on. There wasn't any of that at Luminosity. In fact, Randozos pressured XenoTronics. Luminosity just go to the back Harpies and say, all right, we're here, and if they come on us, we'll fight them.
Just the start of the flow of the game. It's very dangerous to try and invade against Susano, Raijin. They have a lot of control between them as well as a lot of burst. Looking at Raiju specifically, very similar to Ring Bounce, where if you have just a couple members nearby, that lightning is going to bounce between them.
Left side, we see JeffHindla and BaRRaCCuDDa staying on the aggression. Jeff has been dashing through this obelisk pretty much the entire time. That's how Luminosity are clearing this wave. And Jeff winds up putting himself behind Wubbn and Wowy, and Randozos just don't want to take the fight.
You know, you're fighting against a Terra. You don't really want to. You don't have a lot of sustain yourself. Wowy has...
That's the combo.
Wowy has some potions. You can see he's going to be forced to burn them, and that combo is about half of a hunter's life in the first couple minutes. It is so dangerous, so deadly, and if you try and fight back, well, guess what? JeffHindla is just going to play a little bit more passively for a wave and heal up BaRRaCCuDDa with that obelisk.
Yeah, it's frightening. There it is one more time, and he's going to get rooted. Wowy takes a bunch of damage as well, able to dash away, and you can just imagine what would happen if you're a character without a dash there. So good Apollo choice from Randozos, honestly.
The strength of that ability, at least in the early landing phase, really comes from the lack of mobility from Wowy for two reasons. First off, he's basic attacking, which means he's going to have his movement speed slowed as that's happening, as well as he only has boots 1. It's just 6% movement speed as compared to, 18% if he had all 3 maxed out. And Wowy still just the pressure and a really hard commit. I don't think BaRRaCCuDDa wants to dive this too deep, but that's what I'm talking about. We didn't see that from BaRRaCCuDDa last season, not even last split.
BaRRaCCuDDa, I mean, throwing back to the Young Bay school of thought, BaRRaCCuDDa just farmed up forever. He was the Transcendence Hunter, really, and these days, different play style. And like you said, you mentioned it during the pregame show, Adonis. Luminosity realized that, hey, this is the first time in a long time that this is a different team. You've got to find a different team mentality. Luminosity over here on the right-hand side, little miscommunication between jungle and mid, but Whalrus up in the ult and gone.
Wow.
Scary D just tosses the mirror at him and puts down the baby.
That was a fully stacked mirror there, and in the meantime, left side, JeffHindla and BaRRaCCuDDa is trying to strip away this red buff. I believe they were successful. Wubbn's not going to pick it up. He's going to wait for someone else to do so, but that was a whole lot of damage, and there's a little bit of a misplay there. Mask going for the stun. I don't think he had expected Xeno to find that double portal. Great setup, and then follow-up damage with the unstable.
Yeah, just a little, we call it definitely was a miscommunication, but doesn't matter. The kill still winds up going the way of Luminosity, so one on the board, and there's Mask. No ultimate out of him just yet on the Susano. Different story on the other side. And Mirage able to put down Mask. Mask right there wanted to play it cheeky. He wanted to go for the sash and not ult just in case. But he didn't realize Susano's purification was on cooldown. So Mirage was able to just turn that one around. Well played.
Mirage just pulling Mask into the tower there. Mask, I think, a little bit surprised that he got pulled into that tower range. Thought he was a little bit further away. And then his ultimate. He could have ulted there at the last second, but I almost want to think he just thought he was okay.
He thought he was fine.
He thought he was fine, wanted to save it there, or maybe thought he was dead no matter what, even if he ulted in that scenario. Susano has a lot of chase potential.
Sure. I don't know. I think Matt's just tried to wait it out a little bit. Either way, 1-for-1. Both teams now here, but Luminosity with their increased aggression that we keep talking about. It's only 500 gold for first blood. That's all you get. But Luminosity sitting up 1,000 gold. So the repeated invades and just aggressive plays. Another one onto Wubbn. Stun followed stun and take it to the sky. Down comes to Fafnir, and he's going to be greeted by the rest of Luminosity on the ground. Couple of immunity frames for the dragon, and there's a follow-up damage. Wubbn jumps over the wall, but Mask still on the chase.
That's a sprint pop, though. Mask not going to be able to combine, but still aggression going on. JeffHindla's been isolated, trying to juke out, and moswal can't connect the last shot. Xeno managed to get out as well. LG going aggressive there onto Wubbn. It gets turned on their face, but managing to slip away.
And, you know, more importantly than the Fafnir ultimate at this point in the game is the fact that they got moswal's ultimate. By having the Raijin ultimate down, I think Luminosity can make more plays on this mid lane. Raijin is scary, not just because he can get away from your gank with his ultimate, but because he can turn and burn with the ultimate. That's what's really scary about ganking the Raijin. So with that down, Adonis, I think we might see Mask make the play for the mid lane.
His ultimate is still down, though. There's really not a lot of kill potential for LG. The only ult they have is airstrike from BaRRaCCuDDa. They unfortunately had to burn some of their stuff as well, so probably played a little bit safe here, but as I say that, Mask going aggressive, immediately pulled and immediately turned on, no ults, and Wubbn picks him up. And without the ult, I'm really surprised he went in on that.
Yeah, 3 players collapsed. It was interesting. I don't mind the aggression at all. Najah can still combine with XenoTronics to get a kill.
I think Mask minded the aggression. I mean, he went aggressive against a Susano Raijin with no way to escape. Once he had sashed in was the main issue.
That's the biggest issue. Xeno and Jeff were too far away. The sash just brought Mask a little bit too far, and that creates a bad situation for Luminosity. So Randozos was able to inch a little bit closer by putting another kill on the board.
Still going to be fine, though. Luminosity have a slight lead, about 1K still. And SPL, obviously on this Amaterasu, someone that you expect to get behind in the early laning phase, actually ahead of Whalrus. We've seen him abuse him. We saw the one gank, has about a 500 gold lead because of it. And now putting pressure into this speed buff. It's going to be hard for moswal to stop. SPL committing his ult to steal it away.
Don't get moswal's purification. Big play right there. Randozos collapsing on the solo laner. SPL still able to walk away. Not even that tanky just yet. Just rank 2 of breastplate, but still able to just walk away from problems.
SPL not securing the speed buff. I like the attempt, though. Maybe a little bit dangerous. Obviously, he got low, but BaRRaCCuDDa still pressuring on the left-hand side. Once again, he got a lead as well. I love what LG are doing. Both their side lanes had early kills or early forced outs. Obviously, Wowy, you saw that level 4 attempt as BaRRaCCuDDa ulted into the tower, and this just opened up the map so much so they're able to put out this pressure and even sneak a gold fury because of it.
moswal and everybody just find out about the situation a little bit too late, and very quickly Luminosity find themselves 2,000 gold in the lead.
And this has just been clean. Randozos really haven't been able to answer back at all. They've found more kills than Luminosity, but that's more because Luminosity overextends more than Randozos are forcing anything or making great plays. Randozos' kills have been off of LG's aggression.
And at this point, if it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it's still a net positive for Luminosity. If they're able to sneak a gold fury, steal the jungle, and lose their support, I think they're okay with that one. So Mask right now, the sacrificial lamb. Both kills for Randozos onto the jungler.
I mean, both kills were really Mask just doing stuff he probably shouldn't have done, trying to be a little bit cheeky. The first one, just looking for poke on Mirage under tower against a Susano who just pulled him into the tower range, took a little bit too much burst, turned on. And then again, trying to find poke as Xeno is going to make it out there.
Quick ultimate, and all the way on the other side of the map, Janus appears. Whalrus versus SPL again. A lopsided matchup going the other direction, but now at level 12, Amaterasu doing exactly what she's expected to be doing.
It's also the breastplate. Whalrus hasn't been able to finish it. He did get killed very early on. I believe that was what the one for the first blood. So SPL has about the 400, or actually no, that's almost 9. Yeah, just 900, 1,000 gold lead now. Breastplate online for SPL, still tier 2 for Whalrus. Nothing Whalrus can do in this situation. You could see forced to call his teammates over there, try and relieve a little bit of that pressure. SPL recognizes it though and just backs off into tower range.
I want to bring up the build for Mask real quick. Luminosity here, or Mask specifically, he realizes that, hey, he didn't get off to the hot start on Najah. Usually we'll see something a little bit more aggressive out of the Najahs. Jeff in some trouble. He'll be able to dash away and create a bad spot for Mirage to walk through.
A little bit scared there. Bopping his ultimate actually is going to run into Wubbn. The rest of his team still in mid, and Jeff just getting caught out there. I like what he does. Drops the Crushing Earth, doesn't actually collapse it because there is a slow field inside of it. He also didn't want to risk turning around, delaying himself even more, and just popped his ult there for safety. But now he won't have his ult if he wants to get aggressive. Bigger team fight, the bigger the team fight, the better that ult is.
BaRRa taking on Wowy here. Both hunters about even HP. BaRRa could continue. Right side, there's a team fight starting. Something's a brewing over here for Luminosity and Randozos. Lumi taking a look towards the speed buff, and Wubbn going to try and protect it as best he can. Stun onto Whalrus, and here's the aggression out of Randozos. Tons of damage onto Mask. He's forced all the way out, and the Susano knockup will confirm Mask's death, despite a reprieve thanks to the immunity frames. Dashing away is a Scary D, and XenoTronics also finding an exit thanks to a portal. Luminosity, again, get away with something that maybe they shouldn't have, but they give up Mask.
I think they're feeling a little bit too overconfident, honestly. Their composition is... It feels like it's designed more to take these smaller fights, to invade 2v2 or 3v3, to invade with just smaller numbers, utilize the Janus as well as the Jing Wei passive as BaRRaCCuDDa making a big play on a moswal, forced to purify. The damage is already there. Now Wubbn's caught out as well, knocked up, no mana, portal down, airstrike confirms it. And 2 more kills for LG.
You know, Xeno, he's 1-0-2 right now, but he has been so hot. All 3 of the kills for Luminosity have been set up by way of a nice portal out of XenoTronics. Really just very impressive play coming out from him today. And watching Mask, you know, Luminosity, they're making the plays. They're just trading Mask every single time. All right, we're going to invade the speed buff. Really, it's too aggressive. There's no map pressure. We're just going to go into it hardcore, and we'll leave Mask there. But hey, we got the invade, and it worked out, and it stretches the lead. Luminosity went from 2K, let's look at the graphs. They had a small 1K lead at First Blood, they went to 2K, and now they're at 3K. They just, every single death that Mask takes is 1,000 gold for Luminosity in the lead.
This is just off individual pressure as well as player skill. Scary D somehow getting the better of Whalrus in the early game as an Amaterasu, also that rotation setting up the kill, guaranteed Scary D was going to have a lead. Then JeffHindla on this Terra, able to get pressure. So much power and poke onto Wowy. Nothing he's been able to do, so BaRRaCCuDDa able to continuously extend that. Team fighting wise, Randozos I think have the better composition. They have a lot of AoE synergy with Mirage and moswal's ultimates. Whalrus going to be a great zoning tool, has big wide abilities with Armored Umbrella, the Apollo ult, and then you can't really match Fafnir when it comes to team fighting presence. The Coerce is just unmatched, has 3 stuns in his kit, but it doesn't matter if Randozos are so far behind when the big team fights start happening.
I think the biggest point of impact here for Luminosity has been the solo lane. Scary D has just shut down Whalrus. Vamana makes these mid-game plays, right? When 11 and 10 minutes really come through, you see Vamana sort of make these rotations to mid-heartbeats and the mid-team fights and join the core of the team usually, turn that 3-on-3 into a 4-on-3, and that usually turns into a quick gold fury. We see that a lot with Vamana play.
Well, at this point, Whalrus can't really fight into this.
Exactly.
I'm really surprised he's actually taking boxing matches against Scary D. That's probably one of the worst things he can do in this situation. He has no mana, he has no health, and he's up against an Amaterasu who's going to be able to heal.
Mid lane, JeffHindla pops the ult and is able to power himself to take down Mirage thanks to the damage out of his teammates. Wubbn made the transition already in the dragon form, still taking shots, and here comes Whalrus and the Hunter. Shell is going to be popped from Luminosity to deter some of the damage, but they're going in. Wowy, half HP. There's XenoTronics taking down the mid laner, but Wubbn able to put down JeffHindla. Scary D from the backside. 2 shots of the ult, finds 2 stuns, and continuing on, Sanctuary down for Wowy. And Scary D going to be safe in the jungle, unlike Xeno, who falls to Whalrus.
Left-hand side, BaRRaCCuDDa has been split pushing the whole time. Scary D, though, making a little bit of a misguided attempt, though, trying to stun and set up multiple kills instead of just focusing on one person. The rest of his team really wasn't in a position to follow up. Still, though, aggression in the mid. Mast hasn't backed yet. Whalrus also poked out, but it's moswal who's forced away as BaRRaCCuDDa's fighting 1 versus 2. He doesn't care at all.
He's going to be he's going to be fine. Just finding the retreat. That team fight right there, that goes Randozos. So Randozos win the team fight, but they kind of lose overall because of the split push push out of BaRRaCCuDDa. But right there, that team fight goes the way of Randozos because of Whalrus rotation. If ScaryD doesn't win his lane as hard as he did, we see that rotation minutes beforehand. We see maybe one or two more of those exchanges, and Randozos are on their way to lead town. ScaryD right here, not single-handedly, but the pressure in the solo lane, Adonis, I really believe that Luminosity's lead here is off of ScaryD beating Whalrus.
I'd say that's part of it, right? But it's got to come down to Xeno and JeffHindla. They're 1-1-3. They're 1-1-2 looking at Jeff, and they've really been the ones setting up the kills. They set up that kill for ScaryD to shine, and ever since ScaryD had that one kill onto Whalrus, he's just been abusing Whalrus, keeping him under tower. He got a very early tier 1, and look at this. He doesn't even care. He has zero care in the world. And actually, this is a pretty hard commit from Randozos, but just trying to poke ScaryD away.
He's got breastplate, he's got health with the winged wand, and he does have help with his team, like you said. It's just been fantastic for Luminosity so far. 4,000 gold in the lead. Step by step, they really keep stretching it. Just 1K by 1K, and Randozos are slowly starting to come into a spot where they can't really deal with it.
This was an objective game plan from them. Get the Terra Jing combo, put pressure on this in the duo, get Amaterasu, and then have Mastin and XenoTronics, who are really good about rotating across the map and setting up individual picks, and then get your side lanes ahead. Look for more of that style. Here, now LG with their lead, starting to pressure in. It's going to be ScaryD just zoning out Mirage out of his own tier 1 to open up the gold theory attempt.
It's going to be started already. Decent damage from Luminosity. Randozos now filing in, but half HP on the objective already. Jumping on the backside is going to be Wubbn. Moswal chased out thanks to ScaryD's ultimate. Here comes Susano on the backside. No one really hit with the Typhoon, and Luminosity looking healthy as hell. Randozos still in a lot of trouble. Going deep is Mask, taking it to the sky. That'll be a kill out of Wubbn as soon as he lands, even beforehand. And Mask finds his first kill of the game.
And BaRRa's just been dealing with everyone else. Airstrike under tower, hits 2. Mask cleans up 1. BaRRa to the back line, takes out the second. Mask with the double kill, chasing 4. They didn't even care about the tier 1 or the tier 2. They were looking for Whalrus. Now it's going to switch into the objective mindset. Luminosity bait the Gold Fury fight, immediately turn on the team. Wowy was still ulting in the air. And Moswal doesn't even get Taiko drums off. Mirage had a perfect Typhoon, knocking up multiple members, but Moswal, his positioning wasn't strong enough to commit to the ult. He knew he would have been bursted down because he's too slow in it, was trying to reposition himself, but LG never gave him a chance.
There was what I loved about that Luminosity play is how unlike Luminosity that fight was. Usually Luminosity have this nice game plan with a flank and a teleport in from the solo lane, very crafty. That was just brawn. Luminosity walked into Randozos' house, kicked down the front door, and said, hey, we are going to fight you. Mask winds up rolling trips, you get a kill out of BaRRaCCuDDa, and everybody just runs at Whalrus. There was no finesse. It was just, we're here to fight. After you die, we'll take the Gold Fury, and Luminosity have a commanding lead now. Almost 10,000 gold. We're barely 18 minutes into this one.
This game from LG has been won by getting themselves ahead in experience and levels. They set up everyone they needed to. They found a couple extra levels, and even though Randozos, I think, have a better team fight scenario in most cases, where LG shine more on smaller fights, they're just so far ahead, there's nothing anyone could do. 4 levels. Mirage is 4 levels down. He's going to pop his Sanctuary, trying to get out. ScaryD's in position to clean up. Actually, Whalrus does take out Mask, but ScaryD finds the long range, and Xeno's here to support his solo laner.
That's been the motif for the game. Mask traded out for Luminosity's overall win, but right now Randozos certainly have the numbers advantage. Wubbn going to jump forward and find a stun up to Xeno. But that's just what it is. Wowy going to try and deal out some basics as well. Teleport coming here on the right-hand side. Xeno now in some trouble. Can't find the portal. Wowy puts him down.
Wow, Jeff here. He's running too. ScaryD still hanging around. 4 members of Randozos pushing forward. Xeno not next to walls. You always want to sit next to walls when you're a Janus. Got chained down there. Jeff in trouble too. The slow's going to be strong from the crossbound hammer, but JeffHindla's pretty tanky. BaRRaCCuDDa was split pushing the whole time. Doesn't keep committing. Now going to be using his passive to get into this fight. It's a 2v4. BaRRa finds a 2-man knockup. The crits are good. Agility's forward, looking for the shots, and he finds Wowy. His ult's fine, and this could be a win. 2 versus 4.
Well, this was a good fight for Randozos Adonis, but as soon as BaRRaCCuDDa showed up, it went the other way. Whalrus able to deal with him, however, and now ScaryD looking down the barrel of a gun, 1v3. With that in mind, though, everybody in Randozos is very low.
Everyone on Randozos is trying to protect each other, delaying themselves, and SCaryD looking for the snipe. That's going to be enough damage, I think, to kill one. He needs to connect it, though. It's onto moswal, and Whalrus is going to be fine, but Mast is still here, uses it all just to close the gap.
And he wants to make sure nobody's able to get out alive.
Why are they still? Why are Randozos still here?
I feel like Randozos have been trying to escape, but SCaryD's just chasing them down.
Like they just kept turning around.
He's got 1 HP. That's the thing. I mean, he's dangling.
Just run straight. Don't ever look back. Stop. Mast, though, able to clean up there, a kill at the end. LG about 10K ahead. Overall, I think that was a wash. I mean, it went on so long.
Yeah, I mean, it wound up being.
Yeah, it's been about the same.
Silly.
that was ridiculous. That was like a 2-minute team fight.
Yeah, that was both teams saying, "We've got it. It's a good fight." Both teams went into that one saying that was a good fight. So nobody winds up with the good fight in all actuality.
Ooh.
20 minutes on the clock, and Luminosity really in the driver's seat. They have a 10K lead. Honestly, I would say right now, make the dancer on the fire giant, but it's a little bit early. Is that the game plan for Luminosity, or do they have something else in mind?
They don't need to. They have a 10K lead. They could look to bait it. There's only one tower left remaining, though, which I would almost say is a problem because LG, their lead hasn't been from team fighting. They haven't been able to win these cleanly. It's been focused around getting the objectives like the Gold Fury, like putting pressure on one side and allowing BaRRaCCuDDa split push, but LG, if they lose one fight and Randozos clean up those towers, that lead's going to be demolished.
3-on-2 here on the right side, jungle. moswal and Mirage just looking. Luminosity don't commit too hard, and Apollo's going to commit right on the BaRRaCCuDDa. Tricky play right there.
1v1, and wow, he's just hanging around. Not exactly sure what was going on there. Can't really take the fight against BaRRaCCuDDa. Like, all he has to do is hit tab and see that Wind Demon has been finished, an entire item 2 levels ahead. BaRRaCCuDDa with a red buff. Like, there's no way Wowie's going to be able to engage on that.
Yeah, very curious use of the Apollo ultimate. And with that down, that's going to open Luminosity to make this play. You can go ahead and make this change, although Apollo going to hoof it over to the right side of the map.
And BaRRaCCuDDa's finally here. Most of these fights haven't even been involving BaRRaCCuDDa outside of cleanup or the end of the loop around, right? BaRRaCCuDDa will show up and maybe throw a couple hot shots, but now it's a full 5-on-5.
Randozos trying to make the counter attack. Here's Wubbn in dragon form, immediately gets stunned out, and Whalrus going to find a knockup on a mask before he can take out the support. Whalrus doing what he can on the front side. Tower still alive for Randozos.
Randozos on different pages there. You saw 2 people push forward, both Wubbn and Whalrus. Meanwhile, all the carries were still in their tower, and now because of that, the fight's been delayed. All their abilities are down. BaRRaCCuDDa's chaining down one. Mast and XenoTronics combined to pick off Wowy, and it was just clean. Nothing even, no pressure onto LG at all. They just let it happen.
BaRRaCCuDDa's 5 levels above Mirage and just was, I mean, poke is the wrong word. He was poking and prodded and a couple of basics, and all of a sudden Mirage is down 40% HP. Really rough stuff. And look at that, one shot on a mask, and Mirage again has to go back to the fountain. Mirage is just, he doesn't have a terrible game, but Luminosity's keeping him out of making any important impacts here.
I think it's just Randozos' lack of synergy and communication. Like, we saw a couple good fights from them in the mid game before LG had a 10K lead when it was more like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. They were able to take these fights against LG because they weren't that far behind, but now everything has to be done perfectly, and you're seeing Wubbn jump forward, pop his ultimate, and everyone else is just watching. No one has any interest in following up off Wubbn's aggression. And what happened because of that is they wasted that ult. Then they wasted Whalrus's ult because Wubbn's got to go out. Then Whalrus goes in big baby form by himself. And LG are just sitting there like, yeah, if only one of you are coming at us, Terra's going to be enough to heal up that damage, and they just easily siege a Phoenix.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem for Randozos now. Luminosity going to start the fire giant. Randozos have to, like we said, group up and really make this one big play rather than watching them go in one by one. Whalrus going to be aggressed on. moswal avoiding the ultimate out of the XenoTronics. However, Luminosity going to take the portal and show up on the other side. Huge flanking of LG. Xeno gets 1, Xeno gets 2. There's a portal that'll set up for the 3rd kill, go the way of Mask, but trips that XenoTronics all over it.
Just one last kill. It's going to be a knock up there. The ultimate comes out, but LG, they've already taken out 4. It's going to be delayed, but there it is. A quadra for Xeno. And an F6 coming out of Randozos could not keep up with the pressure. Mast and XenoTronics setting up their side lanes. Same with the Terra there from JeffHindla. Just absolutely clean play from LG, because I think they did get outdrafted if you're looking at a team like Randozos that can keep that game even up until 20 minutes.
Love watching the again, we went into picks and bans saying I wanted to see Mask and XenoTronics. I think these guys have really improved and helped LG, and in all honesty, I think XenoTronics and Mask really ran that game. Everybody had a hand in it, but at the end of the day, the Naja and the Janus just making it happen.
It was, I mean, Randozos never really had any pressure. The only kills they got were off Mask doing stuff he probably shouldn't have done, twice by himself, and then once the 4-on-4 invade call, but they weren't really far enough ahead to pull it off. Still, though, a second game, Randozos, probably one of their weaker performances of the split, surprisingly.
Yeah, a little bit rough there coming up against LG. They didn't really have an answer to anything LG tossed at them. You saw the dual lane, JeffHindla and BaRRaCCuDDa just sort of had their way with it.
I mean, that was the main issue, right? It was twofold. First off was the gank into the soul lane and Whalrus dying, which after that, Scary D just ran the show.
They didn't have an answer to Scary D.
Then in the dual lane, it was the Terra Jing Wei combo. We've seen so much of that just this past week alone since Terra is now in. Just the guaranteed half-lifing a hunter who can't get out of that chain CC in the early game.
I don't think that should be allowed. Like I think not in the rules. I mean, like if you see a Terra go through, you have to take or ban the Jingwei. I think it's just too strong. I think it destroys those dual lanes.
Or anyone who can stun the Terra when she looks to go aggressive, like maybe anything like that. Someone who can return as much poke damage, but that's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's very, very rough. Luminosity.